Every lesson is a lyric in the universal song. Oh, the lessons of the journey, I'll weave them in my song.
Hello and welcome to Lessons of the Journey, where we discuss the stuff we actually needed to learn in school with Coach Nicole and Coach Jen.
Today, is it our money day?
Today is our money day, Jen. We are going to be talking about money.
All about it. Teach me, please.
First and foremost, I actually want to define money because I think it's very interesting when we talk about the definition of money and kind of how money came around. We're also going to talk a little bit about wealth, things that pertain to money. But I'm going to go with definition first. A current medium of exchange in the form of coins and banknotes. Okay? Coins and banknotes.
Sounds about right. That's my understanding.
The stuff you do or do not have in your wallet. You know, what's interesting though is let's talk a little bit about the story of money. Like, how did money start out? We were traders. We traded the things we had. We would make something, or we would have something, or we would serve a need, and then we would trade. A little bit difficult when it comes to, okay, maybe you don't have what I need, but you need what I have. So money comes around as a way to trade. What I find really interesting is that when you think back about the concept of trade for services or goods and money wasn't in play, we were very clear on the values of what we had. If you came to me, Coach Jen, and let's say that you made pots, and I'm like, Coach Nicole needs a pot, Jen, can you help me? And you're like, yeah, what do you do, Coach Nicole? Well, I plow fields and I have wheat. Well, I want to make some bread, so I need some wheat. I would be very clear the value of my wheat compared to the value of your pots. Now we have this little thing called money, which detaches us. How many times have you gone to buy something and you go, oh, that's 3 hours of work for me?
Yep.
Are we always clear on this? And I think a lot of times we're not. So our detachment to value of money comes around when suddenly we're not actually trading what we do or an item. Now we have this intermediary that slows down and detaches us from what it means.
That's an interesting concept, though, Nicole. Let me ask you this, if I may.
Yes. Please.
So if I'm going to use your example, you knew, because you're growing wheat, how many hours of work it took you to get such and such bundles of wheat. So you go, all right, this pot's going to cost me 3 bundles of wheat. And that is per day. If I'm hearing you correctly, I'm hearing you say money took away the attachment to the value of ourselves in what we're trading. Am I hearing you correctly?
That's exactly right. Absolutely. I think we got very detached from what we were trading, and maybe not in the beginning, but let's also talk about credit cards, because not only did we get detached from the value of our own time relating to money, but we also got even more detached when suddenly there was credit cards and now we're buying on credit. And buying on credit has been around for a very long time, but the way it used to be was you had to really work for it. Now it's, oh, we'll give you a credit card, 22% interest later.
To an 18-year-old who really
can't do it, doesn't know what they're doing. So credit cards and now the internet, click, and I bought it, has detached us even further from the value of our money. So I just want to be really clear on that. Acknowledge that, wow, we really are very detached from where our money goes. So we have to create our own attachment when it comes to money.
I hear you on that. And I 100% agree, because I click away regularly. My thought is that that's actually changed over time, obviously with Amazon, with all of the electronics that we have available. I'm thinking though, I remember conversation with my parents who are boomers, and they seem to have more of an attachment to their money than we do these days. So, you know, we hear back in my day, a loaf of bread cost 10 cents. And so we go without all of the other conversation around it. There were budgets. There were, I know how hard I have to work to.
Jen, did you just say the nasty B word?
I'm sure we're going to get there. I'm sure we're going to get there. But, you know, it seems to me that as the generations move on. And although there are beautiful changes in the level of consciousness, this seems to be one where I agree with your sentiment, the detachment. My parents were more attached to $10 than I am to $100. And they knew what that would get them. They knew that they had to go to work 40, 50, 60 hours a week in order to bring home this and take care of the family. And it was all very regimented. And we don't see that so much anymore, I don't think. But the idea of the attachment, I don't have it. And I certainly know that my parents did, just based on conversation. So why do you think that is? Do you think it's the internet?
I think it's actually the entirety of the fact that we live in a marketed culture and we are a commodity. And that the more detached you are with your money, the quicker you are to spend it. Let's be honest. We have to become aware that we are fighting against a monstrosity that is incredibly intelligent, that is now using AI to get us to buy things. And we have to say, okay, I'm going to be in control of my money. And I think that's really hard for a lot of people because we have other things going on, which we're going to talk about. You are 100% correct. We are getting more detached. Coach Jen, let me ask you a question. Have you ever balanced a checkbook?
Oh, I love this question. Yes, but let me tell you how I got there. I grew up watching my mother sit at the end of the dinner table at least once a week and write down a bunch of stuff with a bunch of receipts and a bunch of checks, and I just watched. Now, if I did ask, she would say, I'm balancing my checkbook. And I would go, oh, okay. Did I have any idea what that meant, Coach Nicole? Absolutely not. I had no idea what that meant. But my mother knows that she told me that she was balancing her checkbook every week. And when I turned 18, because we had everything we needed and probably enough of what I wanted, I didn't know about money. Money was just always there. I just always had everything I needed. And did I know that my mother was balancing her checkbook? Yes. Did I have any idea what that meant? No. I think she thought I would catch on by osmosis. Or maybe I just knew what balancing a checkbook meant. And kids these days will never know what it is to sit there and balance an actual checkbook outside of doing your online statement. But I never was taught, hey, come over here. Let me show you what that means. This is the money that comes into our household. This is how much our groceries cost and our electricity. That was never taught to me. I did not balance a checkbook until my late 20s. And that was after really dumb credit card moves because I didn't know how money worked. That was after getting in a lot of financial stress because I didn't know how money worked. I had to learn and it was stressful. And then when I learned, I went, oh, that's what my mom was doing. And we laugh about that now. It's a really great lesson because you can tell your kids all day long what you're doing, or you can talk about money, but if you don't sit and teach, there's something amiss there. And so, yes, but not until my very late 20s when it was already too many lessons learned.
We are the last generation that will balance a checkbook. But guess what? Not balancing a checkbook, does that attach you to your money or detach you from your money even more?
Not balancing would detach you much more.
Absolutely. So we don't have checkbooks anymore. So guess what the new generation does? They go online and they say, oh, I have X amount of money. Even though something may not have quite come through yet, they think they have X amount of money. Because everything's so quick, because we don't have checks that were sent and that we have to wait for them to clear. So there's this instantaneous thing going on, which can cause instant gratification, although it's not really gratification. We'll talk a little bit about that. It's that concept that we are so separated from our money. And it's all of these things have separated from our money. It's so interesting when you start coaching people on money and you start watching the marketing, like watch a car commercial from the lens of, who are they trying to get me to be like? Because my kids won't yell in the back seat if I have this car, right? Like it is some weird, subtle hints. Your life will be calmer if you have this. Your life will be easier if you have this. Most of it is BS. So let's just call it what it is. And it's just trying to get the money away from you. Well, now it just takes a click. I really want to first say, I don't have all the answers around money. I just know I'm on the right track. I started off my journey a few years ago. We are doing incredibly well for where we were. I've really changed a lot of things that we're going to discuss today, but I just want to be clear that I don't have all the answers. That being said, we can use the internet for good.
Yes.
Use your powers for good, not for evil. And you can go in and you can learn so many things. But Amazon, okay, so Coach Jen, when you're going to buy something on Amazon, Is your process to see it and buy it right there?
I have a very active cart. So I put things in my cart. I remove them from my cart. I save them for later. I delete them. I watch prices. Rare is it, unless it's something that I know I'm going in specifically that I would buy immediately, is I do one of those one clicks. It is a very rare thing that I do a one click purchase and it's off to me. Usually I'm cultivating a cart for like a shipment. And maybe especially because I live out in Hawaii, let's pile as much in one box as we possibly can instead of the back and forth. So I do that, but that's come a long way for me too. And mental health and money was a big thing for me for a long time. I had a bipolar diagnosis from when I was 28 years old. There's 5 pillars, and one of them is money. And that is one thing that I suffered with. So I used to be a get it now, get it now, get it now, get it now, because I would get a physical ailment if I didn't get the thing, because it was so one track mind. And I've had to recover from that significantly. So when I say I have a shopping cart, I like actively have to make myself have a shopping cart and watch things and not immediately hit the button.
That's a fantastic answer. And I love that, because that is tip number one. Never buy it immediately unless it's absolutely something you were going to the store to buy anyway. I'm a big Amazon subscribe and save person. My last subscribe and save was $350. It was all very curated things that serve my purposes in life. It was not random shit that I thought, oh, that's pretty, because I put everything in the cart if I'm just in the mood. And I find my time is usually 6 o'clock in the evening when I'm ready to find all the cute dresses and the things that are going to make me so much prettier if I buy them. BS again. And I put them in the cart, or put them on the list, and I don't touch them. And I never buy anything unless it is before 6 p.m. I never buy anything late at night, because I know that's my trigger time. That's my time to make Nicole feel better. I want to help Nicole right now. It's my week time. And I know that about myself. I buy things in the morning. I'm very intentional about it. And they have been sitting in my cart, unless they are food products that I already use. Set it in your cart. That's what carts are for. Literally, everyone should be doing this all of the time.
That's really great awareness, because I'm hearing you say, I understand this trigger about myself. And in order to set myself up for success, I know that there's a cutoff. I do the same thing with coffee. I cannot drink coffee after 10:30. If it's 10:45, I have to say no to that third cup of coffee, because that will ruin the rest of my day. But it's important to be aware of these things with ourselves, because very actively we have to sometimes work against that humanness that exists in all of us. And so I love that you've set up that boundary for yourself. Oh, it's 6:01. I'm not shopping right now.
I know I'm very easy prey for the marketing juggernaut that exists in the world right now after 6 p.m. So I just don't do it. By the way, my coffee cutoff is 4:30. I'm aware of that one too. No caffeine after 4:30, or Nicole will be up all night. Yes, we're gonna talk about the nasty B word. Okay, we're gonna have a little conversation about this. I think a lot of people really focus as step number one of money as how much they make. I think they consider that's a step number one, but it's not. It's actually step 3. How much you make is not the most important thing. The most important thing is how much you spend. Okay. Now, I want to be really clear. There are a lot of belief systems out there around money and how to handle money. And some of these belief systems are quite extreme. There are some coaches out there that are like, you're not going to spend anything on anything on anything on anything. I believe life is about finding the duality of, I want to save, I want to, step number 2, invest, I want to leave a legacy, and I also want to enjoy the moment I'm in. I want to enjoy life right now. So am I the person that eats the ice cream after dinner? Hell yeah. And if you tell me not to eat the ice cream after dinner, I'm like, your values are not my values. So I am not of the mind that we should just save. That's not the approach that I come to, and I want to be really clear about this. I want people to be smart about their money. So what did I say first? It's how much you spend. Now, that's when the nasty B word comes up, budget. People are like, well, I hate doing budgets. I hate looking at money. Okay, so let's say that you lived your life in a box and you never had to look at your body, and you never had to see how healthy you were or unhealthy you were, and you never had the ability to understand the perceptions of your own health. Would that be healthy? No, we have clues that teach us. Our money does the same thing. Clues that teach us. By the way, ignored money never does well for you. Just remember that. It'll never do well for you. Pay attention to your money. You have to focus on your money. How much do you spend? First question, how much do you spend? And all of this leads to the concept that we have to, before we focus on anything else with finances, just like everything else in life, we have to first focus on this and this. I'm pointing to my mind and I'm pointing to my heart. You have to focus on your mind and you have to focus on your heart. So if you don't focus on your mind and what your mind is telling you around money, if you don't get clear on your beliefs, what kind of beliefs you have around money, that's the brain, and what you value, which is your heart, you can't move forward. Now, psychologist Brad Klontz would call them money scripts. This is the things your brain tells you about money. You would probably call them agreements, Coach Jen, right? These are agreements around money. We all have agreements. We all have money scripts. We all have things that are told to us in our brain. Most of these things have truth in them. So for example, what are some things that you believe around money, Coach Jen?
Oh, I can tell you what was attempted to be given to me from the family story. And that was, you go to work, you get paid so that you can take that money and live in a nice house and maybe take a vacation if you're lucky. And you don't get to enjoy it. It's just a means to an end. And there's never enough for us. That's the lack of abundance, or I had a very fear-based understanding of money.
So let me ask you a question, Coach Jen. We're going to go with the last statement you made, never enough. Are there some times when there's never enough money?
See, never. You're getting into my coaching stuff here. Never's a really icky word. Never, I'm going to say, this is difficult for me because I'm a whole different person after multiple lives lived. So I believe in extreme abundance. I believe that it's our divine right. I believe that, it's out there for us to go get. And so do I think there's never enough? No. Did I then, in my very limited understanding and what my parents were telling me? Yeah. And it was because my parents had control of the thing that would get me what I wanted or needed. And so it was very limited.
So Coach Jen, let me change the question a little bit. Are there times when there is not enough money?
Yes.
Okay. So there is truth in the statement.
Yes.
Maybe in its entirety, it is not true. Now, are there some people who live in the world that for whom there is always enough money?
Yes.
Okay. So here's what we know about our beliefs. They're always based in some partial truth. And that's why they're easy to believe. Let's take an example of money makes people bad. Well, are there people in the world that have money that behave badly? Sure.
Yes.
But can I give you an example of somebody with money who behaves very well and uses their money for an incredible good? We have to understand that our beliefs can be justified because there are partial truths to them. And like you did, we have to challenge them. Are there times when there might not be enough? Yes. But in general, can I live a life of abundance financially? Yes. We have to replace those things going on in the mind. What is the mind telling you? And often these are the scripts that were modeled or taught to us by our caregivers. Full pass to the parents, the caregivers, the people that were modeling for us. They probably didn't know to teach us things. They probably didn't even realize they were giving us these crap scripts, these agreements that totally sucked for us or that set us up for disaster. It's not like they were vindictive or vicious. Let's give them a break. Now you know this. So you need to get very clear on what is your money BS. What is the bullshit that goes on in your head? If it's a negative statement about money, write it down. It probably can be true in certain situations. Can you prove it not true also? Because if you can prove it not true, then it's a belief and it's not a fact. Okay, here's my example. I go very extreme with this example, Coach Jen. Can I jump off a 20-story building with no assistance without injuring myself?
I'm going to go with no.
I'm going to go with no. Truth or belief? Truth.
Truth.
Okay, there you go. So when we have these beliefs, we have to challenge them.
Yeah.
What are my BS beliefs around money? So write down some of your beliefs around money. Figure out what it is and then figure out if it's a truth or a belief. One of the beliefs that I was raised with was you buy real estate to live in. That's it. Our family does not buy real estate for investments. We just don't do that. That's just not a thing for our family. Now, this was modeled. No one ever said those words to little Nicole, but she believed that. It was like, wait, everybody who's had a house It's a house they live in. So it wasn't even an example that I had. And it was one of the beliefs I had to go, wait, I don't have to buy into that. I can replace that. And so I replaced it. You've got to replace it with what's the belief that's going to create the abundance you're looking for? Because we have to start in here, because no matter what tips you are given, and I know we want that instant gratification. Nicole wants to put that dress on and look gorgeous because it's perfect for her shape, frame. And by the way, it also makes my face look younger. Imagine that.
Yeah. Brings out your eyes.
It does it all. Takes the wrinkles away. BS. We got to get clear on what our mind is telling us, because our mind will reset everything. It's habitual. It will take us back to our set points that are comfortable.
I'm drawn to a story about my family, who I just told you what they told us. Honestly, now that you're saying that, I don't even know if it was told or if it was just perceived by me because of what I was seeing. Little minds. I remember being at a restaurant with my whole family, and I could not tell you how the topic came up. And I call myself the black sheep of my family. But I remember saying to my mother, who started an in-home daycare because we needed a 2-income family, but she also wanted to be able to be home with us and raise us. And then my father, who was like the Mr. Fix-It man for very large companies. And did they love their job? My mom's changing shitty diapers for 40 years. Does she love it? No. Was it a means to an end? Yes. She got to be home and raise her babies. So at this restaurant, I must have been very young. 10, maybe 12. And I remember saying out loud to my family, I think you should love the job that you do. I think that you should get paid doing something that you love. My brother's 2 years younger than me. I kid you not, all 3 of them turned their head to look at me with this like partial doe eye, partial disgust look, like, where did that come? Who are you? And why would you even think that you should enjoy the job that you get paid for? That's not what work is. Work is not enjoyment. You don't get paid to do the things that you love to do. And like, all of them questioned me on that. Now, in those moments, you don't talk back to your parents. At that point in time, I wasn't going to sit there and fight with them about it. I just remember thinking, well, I think I want to love what I do and I want to get paid for it. And I was, again, very young, but that was asinine to my family. And when we talk about mindset, or when we talk about who says, I don't know where that came from. It certainly was not a belief that it was instilled to me from my family. My brother, certainly younger than me, didn't think that. I just remember going, I would like to get paid for something I love doing. And why is that so far-fetched, right? But that was a serious mindset thing that I had to carry through into adulthood that said, why not? Right? Versus why? Like, how would that even make sense? And so what you just said sparked that in me, and the switcheroo, the idea that says, fix it. If it's not serving you, replace it, move on to a new thing. And I know you were on a track, but can I stop you? I have a question.
Yeah,
when we were talking
absolutely.
about budget.
Yeah.
Now, you were like the nasty B word, and I agree with you. I don't want to sit down and do it. And why is it that we as humans, and maybe more so adults, we're so timid around the idea of understanding a budget for our family, for ourselves, for what is it about that? Is it the stories that we've told ourselves up to that point? Why is it so uncomfortable to really dive into your own money story?
I think in working with people, mostly what I see is it's an accountability people don't want. So let me get this right. If I write out this thing and I face these facts, I can't just click and buy that dress that's going to make me look gorgeous. Well, shit, I don't want to do that. I just want to buy the dress. Fantastic. You buy the dress and I will leave my kids the legacy. And you won't, because you had to have that dress, which, by the way, probably looks like shit on you anyway, because you ain't that model. So like, let's be honest here. It's an accountability level that most people don't want. And money is scary and terrifying to most people. And I think it is because it represents something so big in a lot of people's minds, right? The reality is, if we live in a society of commerce, I don't care how smart you are, I don't care how hard of a worker you are, if you don't have money to feed or clothe yourself, you are missing some of the most basic securities of life. And it is amazing how many people are living one paycheck away from homelessness. It's absolutely terrifying. And I think for some people, well, if I ignore it, it will go away. That's exactly what's going to happen, is it's going to go away. And the truth is, the budget is just simply an awareness. By the way, I do budget every single month. I say I loosely. My husband does the majority of the budget. There's multiple budgets because we have multiple businesses. We watch our money incredibly closely. And watched money generally grows, ignored money generally dies.
Will you say that again for everyone in the back, please?
Watched money will grow, ignored money will die. Let's say, Coach Jen, I go, hey, I'm going to go buy some roses and put them in the backyard. I don't have sprinklers. So I go and I put them in the backyard. What's going to happen if I ignore those roses? Dead.
Go away.
I have dead roses. Yeah. I have to go out and tend them. I have to trim them. I have to water them. I have to maybe even feed them. That's what you have to do to nurture something. Money is the same, but we treat it like if we ignore it, it's going to grow. And it never will. You have to pay attention to it and you have to respect it. Ignoring something, by the way, is one of the ways that you can give it its least level of respect. So think about that. If I ignore my money, am I respecting my money? Nope.
No.
Absolutely not.
That's an interesting concept, not one that I'm new to, and one that I think could be explored a little bit more. Because when we think about the idea of respect, we don't think about an inanimate object like money. We think human to human. We have a very specific idea of what we think respect looks like. So can you expand a little bit more, please, on what respecting your money means and really could look like?
Absolutely. Respecting your money is really being clear on what you're spending it on. And I think the highest level of respect for your money is when you actually choose to spend it on the things you value, the things that come from the heart. We're going now to the heart, and that's what you value. I think very few people ever sit there and spend money and say, is this feed into my value system or not? Most people aren't even aware of their value system. What do you value? First of all, you want your main core values of what you'll spend money on, but then you also want to challenge all those areas when money comes up. I mean, the simplest form of respect for money. If you walk over a penny, do you pick it up?
Yeah, and I give it to my kids.
So I do. And you know what I always say?
Penny, penny, bring me luck because I'm the one that picked you up.
That's cute. I like that. So actually, I was taught this by a money coach. Money comes to me easily and effortlessly. And find a penny, pick it up, and all the day you'll have good luck. And I stick it in my purse. I have a cute little story. Side note, I think this is the most adorable thing. My grandmother was Maudie. We always called her Maudie and Potty. I didn't know Potty very well, but I knew Maudie very well. She lived into her 90s. I remember walking around Vegas with this woman. She was in her late 80s, and it was 3 a.m. I'm like, that's my blood. I'm like, this woman can go and gamble and have a blast and be up at 3 a.m. Love this woman. But she used to go on a morning walk, and she would go to cinema near her. So she'd walk through the cinema and she'd look for coins because people drop coins when they're pulling money out. So every night when my parents would drop her off after taking her to dinner, they would go plant coins in the parking lot at the movie theater. I just thought that was the cutest thing. So she would always have coins to find the next morning. I just thought that was
the sweetest thing.
I was like, that is such an expression of love and respect. And it's a respect for money. They put money on the ground, but they would never have done that not knowing she was going to find it. Right. Simple respects for money. Like if you actually have bills in your wallet, are they all facing the same way? Like you care about them? Like you're tending them? Or are they just shoved somewhere?
I worked at a bank. I was a teller. And I can tell you that before I was a teller, it was every which way. And I remember the manager at the time because we had to balance every night. One time I think I was new and I was trying to balance, and the manager happened to be, and she was like, why does your drawer look like this? And I looked at it and everything was in its place. And I was like, what? And she was like, look at that. Your money's every which way. If your money in your drawer is every which way, it's every which way in your wallet, it's every which way in your life. You need to fix that shit. I was like, oh, I didn't know that was a thing. From then on, my money all goes the right way. And when it comes out of an ATM, because you know that those tellers packed it, when it comes out of an ATM every which way, I'm like almost offended that the person inside the bank did not respect my money enough to give it to me the right way.
And somebody could say, oh my God, that's so anal. You're being ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yet It's the belief. It's what my brain tells me. And my brain tells me this is something worth respecting, not shoving somewhere. So I respect money in those simple ways as well. Talking about value, I watched a TV show and I want to share this with you guys because I think this was fantastic. And this guy really nailed it. His name was Ramit Sethi and he did the Netflix series How to Get Rich. And of course, it's something that says How to Get Rich and it's a documentary. I'm watching it right. What I loved about him was he was very clear that you have to figure out what you value. Spend money on what you value and then be a cheap ass for everything else. I love this concept because I'm not going to live my life doing that extreme of not spending money on anything because it just doesn't make sense to me. Then what kind of life am I living? I'm here once. Believe what you will about reincarnation. This is the only life I remember. And I'm on this journey once. So I'm going to embrace the journey and I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to have the ice cream. I'm going to have the piece of chocolate. I'm also going to go to the gym the next day. So I'm going to spend money in certain areas, but I want them to be the things I value. So what do you value? So important to understand about yourself. Coach Jen, do you know what you value spending money on?
I love that this is what we're talking about right now. Now, I just told you that I had bipolar, that money was a serious miss for me for a very long time. So not only did I have to kind of recover from that mental health illness, I also had to recover from the patterning that was created during that time. So I can tell you that I'm very proud of myself today as to where I've come. Do I do it well all the time? No. And I had to get to what do I value? Now, when you have bipolar and you have this pull to spend on 18 snake bite kits because the whole world needs to be fixed from this, like that's a whole separate thing that we're not talking about. And when I was able to recover from that, I was able to truly understand what I do value in a non-crazy brain kind of way. And especially now that I have children and I have a new stepchild in my life. And so this year, in what do we value? We value our family time. We value experiences together. We value learning about each other. We value play. We value those things over all of the plastic junk. We're going to create memories together as a family. We're going to have those pictures. And I believe, Coach Nicole, there's a study that says that you lead a more fulfilled life when you create experiences for yourself than you do when you purchase things. You've read that?
You're absolutely correct. I can't remember who did it. I was listening to a podcast and it was about that concept. The experiences last longer in the happiness scale. You're still happy much further out than if you bought something. Travel is big for me, Coach Jen. You know that. Now, here's the thing about travel. Travel is important. And I say, I value travel, but here's what I don't value: expensive travel. I'm a cheap ass traveler, but I'm smart about where I'm going. And there are certain times when we're going to stay in the more expensive area because I know what experience I want. I don't need a 5-star travel. I need to go and have experiences where I am in that country, in that state. And they need to be ingraining myself in what's going on in the community, as well as seeing the sights, right? One of my favorite things to do when I travel is rent the Lime scooters and just tool around the cities and get lost in a city. It's so much fun to me. That is so much fun. And it's not 5-star. I don't need a luxury van. Somebody said to me, oh, well, you can go on this boat tour with half the people and it'll cost you twice as much. And I was like, give me all the people. I don't care.
I would choose the half the people. That is amazing.
I wouldn't. But I had to ask myself, what do you think? And I asked my husband, what do you think? And he's like, I don't care. So figure out what is important to you with that. Travel is huge for me. Healthy lifestyle. Now, I want to be really clear. When you say it's important to me to live a healthy lifestyle, that opens you up for that whole other marketing juggernaut of this is healthy, this is healthy, this is healthy, this is... Well, crap, I could buy all those things under my I live a healthy lifestyle. I will not fall for everything, but I do spend money on quality food. That's a thing for me. I do take the proper vitamins. I do what I need to do. That's important. Healthy lifestyle. I want to live a long time. I'm a proponent of combining Western and Eastern medicine. Can I find a cure for it? Or is it so bad you got to go fix it? Balancing that out and doing it in a smart way. I've been on a good journey. Financially, we're in a great space. The other day I came home, I had a couple things from Goodwill because I needed some new workout pants. My husband laughed. He goes, we're worth X amount of money and you just spent money at Goodwill. I said, because I don't give two craps about clothes except for I want all cotton and I want quality. I don't care if I spend $5 on them or $500, and I won't spend 500. I just won't. I'm too cheap for that. I want good quality. I will go to Goodwill. I'll buy something somebody else owned. I do not care. I'm not the too proud thing. That goes out the door for me. Family time. I live on the same property as my grandkids and one of my kids and his wife. I live here so I can be around them, so I can travel, because I live in a very small space. A big house is not important to me. I know this. Size of your house, type of car you drive, clothes, purses, all these things. What do they mean to you? And they actually things you value. You know, keeping up with the Joneses is so perpetuated in our society. And it's kind of scary. Wait, my car's not new enough. I don't fall into those things. Like, I need less expensive. I don't care. Do you know most millionaires drive crappy cars?
Yes, I've read that. Like the same car that I've had for 10 years, the same house I've lived in for 25 years, right? Just why would I need any of that? And the being smart about the money. But you say that, and I think to myself, does that still exist? I guess I'm so far removed out here on the Big Island in my own little world. Do people still do that? You know, like out here, everybody drives the same 4Runner, the same. It's all the same out here.
But think about it. I mean, when we lived on Maui, you had to have a Toyota Tacoma. I never had one. I've always been the person who likes to drive a car.
I think that's all they sell on the island.
Seriously, it's like the saddest thing. And look, if that's something you value, go spend money on it. But ask yourself, is this something I value, or is it something I want to impress the other people with? Because I don't give two shits what my neighbors think of me. I don't care whether they look at me and go, she looks good, she has money, she has a big house, I don't care, because I'm living into my values, and my values are not to please my neighbor or my friends. If I have friends that are judging me for what I own or don't own, those aren't true friends anyway. I want real relationships, and I value that.
Yes.
So I want to talk to you guys about one strategy. Look, there are tips, there are tricks, there are all these things. There was this one study done. They took a control group and brought them in and taught them tricks and tips about saving money. And then they took another group and they brought something they valued in their life, right? And they actually had them work on this like an arts and crafts thing about this thing they valued in their life. Year later, who's saved more money? The ones that actually talked about their values, right? The people that got in touch with their values, the people with the tips and tricks, no change. No change. The people looking at their values are at least working on, like, what do I value? So if we don't focus on those first, don't even bother following this strategy, because you have to talk to your mind and your heart first. And you have to get clear on your money. Once you do that, then find one thing and follow it, because people don't do this. So it was about maybe 8 years ago, I read a book. It was called Money Master the Game. Okay. This is a book by, what's his name? Oh my gosh, I can't, I'm having a brain fart here. The big tall guy.
Tony Robbins.
Thank you. I'm like, okay, okay, so he wrote a book. He has since written like 3 money books, 4 or 5. I don't even know. But from what I understand, this is the first one. It was called Money Master the Game. As a brand new not a brand new investor, we were investing a totally different way. It was BS. The investor people were making money. We weren't making money. It was horrible. We changed our entire strategy. Okay. We followed this book. We agreed to this. The book is based on the Ray Dalio plan, Vanguard. I loved it. It was amazing. So Money Master the Game, read this book, followed what it said. I said, we're going to do this. And we did it. My advice is, don't find 20 different things to do. Find one and stick to it and do it. And I highly recommend this book. I think it's still very applicable. Now, when I was reading it in 2017, I said to my dad, I said, I think you should check out this book. And he's like, oh, I've read a book like that, blah, blah, blah. Didn't change a thing about the way he's investing. I am now, 7 years later, talking to other dad, have 2 dads, one passed away, talking to other dad, and finally getting him into these strategies. And he's already going, oh my God, this is so much better than what I've been doing. There is one tip in that book that I'm going to tell everybody about. And this is really interesting. It's the concept of, and you'll know this, Jen, because as somebody with a real estate license, a fiduciary. So Coach Jen, what is a fiduciary? Do you remember with the real estate training?
Oh gosh, I'm fiduciary for a few folks right now under contract.
Yes.
I treat their pocketbook as my own. I am responsible for making or saving them as much as possible in all of it, and I don't get to make decisions for them and for their money. I have to treat it as I am responsible for it.
Right. Their money is more important than your money. I think there's a misconception that a lot of people think that fiduciary is only for people with wealth. Here's what I want anybody who listens to this to do. Call up your financial advisor and just ask that question. Are you a fiduciary? If they are not, they can be the nicest, kindest, most wonderful person on the planet, but the company they work for has lobbyists, and those lobbyists are there to make sure that that company makes a whole lot of money, whether you do or not. Work with a fiduciary. And anyone can work with a fiduciary. And I don't understand why these financial investors are not fiduciaries, because that means my money is not the most important thing. And that was the one thing that we learned from that book that had the biggest impact. And I'm still like, why do people do this? You constantly read stories about the nicest guy scamming the couple out of all of their money. So it's not necessarily the person, it could be the company, but you've got to work with a fiduciary if you're not going to do it yourself. I recommend following the Ray Dalio plan and just make it easy on yourself for your investments. But
I did not know that. That's
very
good
important.
Stuff. Okay.
Fiduciaries, by definition, are legally and ethically bound to act in the other's best interests. Okay?
Yeah, that's what I want. That's who I want with my money.
There are a lot of people out there that handle investments that are not fiduciaries. So
interesting.
Just be aware of that. By the way, if you ask them directly, a genuine fiduciary is going to straightforwardly affirm their role and commitments to act in your best interests. So you need to know that. Review your advisor's credentials. There's certifications, certified financial planner, AIF accredited investment fiduciary. You got to make sure someone's working for you, not just the company. And they may not know. That's the tricky part. They don't know if they're really working for you or the company, because the company may say, oh, have your people buy this thing. And that thing gets them more money than it gets you. So just be really careful. This is money we're talking about. You've got to respect it. This is a form of respecting your money. And I will be honest with you. Once you start actually looking at how they hide fees and you get some of the details of how they hide fees, it is scary that they can legally hide their fees and their income on your investments. And it's because they have a bunch of lobbyists in Washington protecting their income. So be careful.
Now, what do you say to the folks who are like, I don't trust anybody with my money. I keep it all underneath my mattress.
Okay. I think you have to do what you are comfortable with. I would not tell anyone what they have to do with their money. But what I will tell you is inflation will kill you every year. I mean, your money is just going down in value. It doesn't make sense. You can, even right at this point, and I haven't checked it in the past couple of weeks, but you could get your money into a secured savings account, secured by the FDIC for up to $100,000 at 5% interest. Why would you not take advantage of 4 or 5% interest instead of 0% interest? It doesn't make sense.
Usually, to me either, usually the response I get is, I don't trust the banks. Okay, but it's insured. I don't trust the insurance company. Okay, well, we really need to work on some trust here.
Okay, there you go. You know what you just nailed, Coach Jen, was their BS beliefs in their head. And people have been through this. They probably had someone in their family lost something. Well, things are secured now up to 100,000. So what? So put your 100,000 here and your other 100,000 here and your other 100. It's going to be secured, right?
Yeah.
If everything falls apart to the point that the government can't secure it, we're all screwed anyway. Are you taking advantage of the possibilities for you that exist? If you're sticking your money in a mattress, you're missing out on possibilities. I mean, I will tell you that I personally, in the last multiple years, have earned 10 to 12% through my investment plan. I'm slightly more aggressively invest because I'm younger than my husband. He makes 8 to 10% because he's a little more conservatively aggressive because he's 14 years older than me. So his plan should be more conservative.
So let's talk about practicality. Let's narrow it into, you said at the top of this, most families are living paycheck to paycheck. They're one transmission breaking down away from not being able to pay rent. So let's start from that. What is a practical way for somebody who is living paycheck to paycheck to start putting away a little something for those emergencies so it does not break their family?
Step number one, how much do you spend? If you don't have a budget, you have no idea and you don't know what you can put away. Your money, if you just allow it to go into your account and you just spend what you make, that will never change. Nothing will ever change. And I can almost guarantee you, Coach Jen, that probably 99% of the people who are living at the point where they go, I am one transmission away from not being able to pay for this, they don't have a budget. They don't have a budget. They're not following any of these things.
So how do you recommend? Can they Google a budget? Is that just the quickest and easiest way?
We do a spreadsheet because we're old school. There are apps. There are different ways that you can probably do it online. A budget is like a schedule. When people go, what's the best scheduling thing to use? I'm like, whichever one you'll actually use.
Yes.
Go find something. I know people who rave about this app or this program, or I don't care what you use, but find something and track your spending. The key is to track your spending. Now, this is the nice part about the internet. That's real easy now. Nobody uses cash anymore. So it's like, all you got to do is pull out your accounts, print out your things, and you got all your money. Some of these apps are so smart, they connect to your accounts. And then after they start seeing something, then they know where to put it in your budget for you. They can actually do it for you. I mean, they're way smarter than our little spreadsheet, but we have what it works. And my husband doesn't. He's in his late 60s, so he's not going to use an app.
Yeah.
What works for you? But if someone says to me, I'm one step away from being broke, and I say, do you have a budget? And they say no, I say, whose responsibility is it?
Yeah.
And I don't use the word fault, but whose responsibility is it? It's your responsibility to watch your money. It's your responsibility to be in charge. And it's your responsibility to figure out what is going out the door.
Yeah, no, I love that. That's a shift in the mindset that you were talking about. It's not your fault that you didn't learn these things. And it is your responsibility now that you know that it needs to get done. So many things in life. It's not my fault my mother didn't tell me what balancing a checkbook was. And it is my responsibility to now understand that that was a thing and that money needs to be managed in a way. So absolutely. Here's another thing about the word, and I'm a word freak. I'm like just really strange. Budget doesn't offend me in any way, shape, or form, but it might to some people. Just the word in general. So if you don't like the word budget, find a new one. It's just a shift in that mindset that Coach Nicole was talking about. Give it to me.
Wealth creator.
Wealth creator. That's way better.
It's your wealth creator, because the first thing you have to look at is how much do I spend?
I like that. Everybody take that one.
You cannot create wealth without a budget. You have to have a budget to create wealth. Unless you're born into, a trust fund or you have multi-millions, go do your thing, whatever. Oh, by the way, interesting study, Coach Jen. I love this one. This is one of my favorites. Okay. They took two groups of people, two control groups. Right? Group one, worth $500,000 on the wealth. Group two, worth $10 million on the wealth. Their average living expenses. Okay, mind you, we're talking about a 20 times the wealth between these two groups. Group A has 500,000, Group B has 10 million, 20 times the wealth. Guess how much they spend on average for their normal expenses? Food, clothing, housing, cars, regular expenses in comparison to the group of $500,000.
Well, only because we've talked about the super wealthy living in the same house for so long and having the same car for so long. I'm guessing that they spend an overall total less than the group that was worth less in total.
They do not. They do not. They actually spend more. Okay. They do. They actually spend more, twice as much, 2 times.
Wow.
Now, they have 20 times the wealth, but they spend 2 times on the expenses. Okay. Now let's think about this for a second. What does that say to you? What does that make you think?
They respect their money more.
Okay. You know what that makes me think?
What?
Y'all that are worth $500,000 are spending way too much damn money. That's the first thing I think is these guys are overspending. You're only worth $500,000. Why are you spending so much money? That means you have half the size, probably in comparison, of a house as the person worth $10 million.
Yeah.
Come on, stop spending your money.
I mean, I think that speaks back to what you were talking about your value systems, because I'm just thinking about folks that I know, investors here, short-term flippers, those that buy and hold. And I'm thinking about just conversations and where those folks have come from and what they have taught me. And it's something to the effect of, Well, I used to take all of my money and go buy the big car and then put the lift kit on it and the big tires and make it all shiny with a new paint job, because that mattered to me as I was driving around, that status. Whereas when I learned about investing, I would take all of my extra money and put it into a property. So I would have the crappy car, but it would get me from point A to B. And then I would grow my money from the investment. I actually have a friend, she was like, my boyfriend helps me do all my flips, but he doesn't care about any of, so I just bought him a new truck because he's helped me. So, and that's what he cared about. So he got a new truck and I got 3 new houses. And I'm like, go girl. Like, so she's like, I got out cheap with the new truck. And so that was her mindset with the, not 20 times, but as she's growing and learning, she's like, that was a way up for me. I continue getting the help I need. I got him a new truck. He was happy. And I got 3 more properties from the work. So
fantastic.
I love it.
Out. I've seen this in some investment groups. There's almost this trying to find the cheapest car you possibly can that will last 15 years. And it's like a challenge. They're like, oh no, I drive a 1982, blah, blah, blah. Oh, I drive a 1984, blah, blah, blah. And I know you have this brand, but this brand's going to last an extra 20,000 miles. Like, it's like a game. They make this their game. And I think that's the key. Like when we talk about the marketing juggernaut, you're sitting in the casino and you're meant to lose your money. How can you outsmart the casino? You got to play a different game. What game are you playing? Play a different game. Play the game where you are actually making a difference in your world. It has worked following a plan and working on what my brain is telling me. And I'm always challenging what my brain is telling me, because no matter how many of those dresses I bought, Jen, they don't make me look 30 years younger. Damn it.
That's still a me when I look in the mirror. I think that's the most important thing, is the mindset surrounding what we're talking about here. Because most of us were taught that money is a finite resource. And what I've learned just living along the journey of not having any money, of being reliant on my parents for so long for help, of not having an understanding, and then growing and losing and learning, is that it was all made up to begin with. It was a lack of understanding that there is so much money in the world just floating around. It's out there. I think a big part of my understanding of that was when I was selling real estate full time. I was like, man, there's so much cash out here. And I read a really great book intended for like young teens. Actually, I was pre-reading it before I was going to send it to a loved teen that I know. And it was called Savvy. And it was about understanding that the abundance exists in the world, that it's out there for you to receive if you're open to receiving it, that it can come to us. And the affirmation that you so eloquently stated, which I love, that the idea that we have to control where it comes from just simply is not, it's not a thing. That doesn't exist. We think that we control the input and the output, and it's so much more involved than that. And my favorite line from that book, and I use it and I coach it, is, but where's it going to come from? And the answer is wherever it is now. And I love that concept. It's not in front of you. You can't see it. It's not yet tangible, but that does not mean that it doesn't exist. And it does not mean that it could not exist for you. You got to put the work in. You got to do the wealth creator that Coach Nicole is talking about. You got to put the work in. You have to respect the money. You have to do all of the things, and then show up to receive the input from your output, which is, it's on its way to you. It's wherever it is now. And it's not really your concern where it is now. It's on its way to you if you do the work to bring it in that direction. I love it, Nicole.
I love that. You. I think that is fantastic. And I will say, on this journey, if you decide to start today, you're like, I'm going to start today and I'm going to change my future. You're going to fail, 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 fail. It doesn't matter how many times you fail. As long as you stay on the journey, you will get somewhere. You will end up somewhere better than you are today. But you have to fail forward. You have to just keep doing it and keep making the mistakes and keep looking at your budget. And then you go by a month and then you're like, shit, I forgot to do the budget, or shit, I forgot to do this, or I just bought the dress. Guess what? You can return the dress.
Yes.
Because I've done that
Yeah.
many times. Just do it. Just do it. And
Start now.
here,
Start where you are today.
start here and here first. What do I value spending money on? Every time you go to click to pay, do I value this? Is this something that actually feeds my value system? That can be the way you can start. We've all heard the tips and the tricks, and most of us have done nothing with them. So nothing will change until this and this change.
Yeah. Well, one of those tips, I'll tell you what worked for me. Because, I have 3 credit cards saved in Amazon, right? My default payment. And it really is a click. I read somewhere, delete all of your auto-saved money information in all of these accounts that make it too easy to click. Because if I'm required to then get up and go to my wallet and pull out my credit card and enter all those numbers and then click, like I just probably won't buy the thing. That tells you how short we are as human.
Or better yet, if you're truly broke, cut your credit cards in half, throw them in the trash, delete them from everything. And if you don't have the cash, you don't buy it.
There you go.
That's it. Sometimes you do have to do some of the extreme things. I like my credit cards because I play the game, but I play a different game. I'm earning things. I'm earning free stuff. Like I'm staying free at Marriott because I use my credit card. And by the way, never, ever, ever carry a credit card debt into the next month. Because if you do, that is the worst thing you can do. Don't save money until your credit cards are paid off because your credit cards are probably charging you anywhere from 18 to 30% interest.
It's asinine is what it is.
It's insane.
It is. It's scary. Insane. Yeah.
So there you go. That's what I got. That's my money tips. There's
Nicole,
a lot there.
I know that we could learn from you for like another hour, and we do have to wrap it up. Please put on another money class another day. I'm just going to go right into my takeaway, if you don't mind. There were so many pings from you. So my takeaway, I love the respect your money. I absolutely love that. I love the change in the language to wealth creator. That is such a huge takeaway for me. And I know that our language carries energy with it too. And that is just such a fantastic way to start the process. Even if it's with $1, this is my extra. I'm starting now. Start where you are with what you have. Those are my 2 biggest takeaways. Respect your money and start today with a wealth creator. That would be look at the money you have coming in, look at the money you have coming out, and see where we can shave something off. I love that. Thank you for those.
Absolutely. It becomes like a game. What can I get rid of? Live like a cheap person and save lots of money. I'm going to say my takeaway, which I hadn't really thought about until we started getting into this conversation, was the fact that some of our agreements are actually created because of things we didn't see modeled. I knew that happened for me, but I hadn't articulated that. And I think that's really interesting. And praise to the black sheep, by the way, Coach Jen. Everybody in my world is pretty much black sheep. So I love the black sheep because the black sheep is the person who does things differently and is usually the person that is the change maker in the world. So don't forget that.
Thank you. So kids, it's okay. It's okay. Okay, time for the random question of the day. You ready?
Question. Yes.
I love this. I can't wait to hear your answer. If someone came up to you and said, "Hey, Coach Nicole, do that thing you do," what thing would pop into your head first?
Oh boy, do that thing you do. Gosh, I would probably get passionate about something. That's the thing I do. I get passionate about something. This is a good example. Money. Jen, I'm sure you've heard this. What are the 3 things you don't talk about in average society? We don't talk about
money, religion, politics.
Money, religion, politics. Okay. The religion and politics, let's bring that back. Let's not talk about that because I think that's gotten completely out of control. But the money, are you freaking kidding me? Why are we not talking about money? Talk about money. Somebody who's doing really well, find out what they did. Ask people about money. This whole we can't talk about money. Fine. Maybe you don't want to say what you're worth or maybe you don't want to say what you make. That's completely fine. But let's talk about money. Money is a conversation that you need to be having. And the more you can curate that being your conversations, the more you will attract more money. You're bringing it into your brain, you're bringing it into your heart. Suddenly you're bringing more of it into your body.
And I'd like to remind everybody, I love that. Thank you. People who are doing well will never shut you down for asking how they did what they did. People who are succeeding are happy to share the secret because it's not only the secrets, it's the execution of the secrets. The knowledge is out there. You could go online and you can study, you could do all of that. But unless you're applying the actuality of the thing, so anybody who you see doing something you appreciate, ask. And I guarantee you, if they are actually succeeding in that, they will share what they do. They will. And anybody who isn't is fear-based. They forgot the abundance. That's a red flag. They are not somebody that you would actually want to learn from anyway. So thank you for that reminder. Go ask, start the conversation. If you're curious, 100%. Do it, because those people will share with you. That's almost a guarantee.
I think you're absolutely right. And here's the thing. It's not going to be the people that you think. It's the same thing as the people that you think are have happy relationships, but have crappy relationships because they're out there going, I'm wonderful and I'm this and then, and you're like, oh, you're falling apart in the background. Like those of us that are doing well, we're not out there bragging about it because we're focused on what we're doing. Yeah. So we don't have time to be like, I mean, I do coach clients on it. That part I have no problem talking about. All right.
I love it.
Random question for you, Coach Jen.
Okay.
What's something you learned recently that you really should have already known?
Have you ever seen this page on social media? It's called I was today years old when I learned that.
Love those videos.
So many things. Oh gosh. Honestly, my kids teach me daily. Let's think of something that one of them brought home. We have this app in the phone. It's like Night Sky or something like that. And it shows all the constellation, the stars, the planets, all of that.
I have that one.
Yeah. Okay. So the skies out here have been gorgeous lately. And we've been eating outside before it gets too dark. And the airport is just a little north of us. And I go, oh, look, there's a really bright light. And my 10-year-old goes, that's Venus.
I love that.
And I was like, what? He goes, it's not moving. It's the brightest one in the sky. It's Venus. And I go, the planet? Yeah. I go, are you sure? I doubled down on her. I go, get that thing. We're looking up. I go, oh, that's Venus. Yeah. I'm pretty sure we went through this in like what, 4th grade.
But they didn't take us out at night and show us them. That would have been more interesting.
You know, that's what it is. It's practical application. Because even like we're sitting here talking about it, and you got to put the stuff into play. You got to take the information and you got to go out and do something with it. So I'm all about the practical application. And you're right. I never took an astronomy class. I never took any of it. I know that we've got a string of planets. I couldn't tell you if we're next to the sun or not. I don't know that's, look at, this is a painting from one of the, right? They just know more because they're interested. Now, will they know that in 30 years? I don't know. Will they relearn that Venus is the brightest one in the sky in 30 years after life has hit? To be continued. I'll fill you in.
Love it.
Oh, I'm so appreciative of all of your knowledge. Coach Nicole, just dropping the mic on financial literacy. I wish I would have had somebody telling me this when I was 15. Really, when I was 15, before I got my first job ever, before I had to have an understanding of bank accounts and credit cards and the economy. I wish, and I took economics as a senior in high school for a whole half of a semester. None of this was talked about. No. So what should we have learned in school? A bit about financial literacy, a bit about how to put pen to paper and create wealth.
Right.
I'm so thankful for today. Thank you for that.
It's been my pleasure. This is obviously a topic I'm very passionate about because I am the belief that you are the result of the people you are closest to. So I want to take the people that are closest to and make them uber wealthy, and then I'll just follow along with them.
I'll go hang out on each other's yachts and private planes.
If you value yachts and private planes. By the way, I would never buy a private plane because it's like having an RV. It's a pain in the ass. I'd rather just charter that thing.
Just meet me somewhere exotic. How about that?
There you go.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to the next one. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Coach Jen.
Write your lines with passion. Let your spirit freely roam. The lessons of your journey will lead you safe.